Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Geekscast. I am your host, Tim, and with me is my co-host, Matt.
Hello.
And with us is we have two very special guests with us. One is Geekosaurus Mike.
I am become death, destroyer of worlds.
As far as intros go, that was the scariest. And Zilla, can you top him? General Zilla from Retro Nightmares.
I got nothing, but hello.
Okay, that works. So we are the Geekscast. This is the podcast for Geeks of the Round Table. If you would like to ask us any questions or pretty much anything, geekscastlive at gmail.com. And also, if you want to catch this podcast live, you can go to twitch.tv/geekscastlive at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sundays. Okay, so what are we talking about today?
Well, we've got a few things on the cards. Shall we start with the light one first?
Sure. What do you got?
Well, Smash Brothers just came out.
Hooray!
As in a week ago.
Yeah.
For the 3DS. And I've been playing the hell out of it, so I'm really enjoying that at the moment. Some surprising things about it as well, such as it actually having decent online when playing one-on-one. Not so much playing 4-player, I get a lot of lag playing that, but one-on-one it seems to work really, really well.
Okay, anybody else have any Smash Brothers related? I don't. I got the week before demo, and I never got a chance to play it, so I'm just holding out for that Wii U version.
Same with me. I got rid of my 3DS for the reasons of getting a PS4 plus waiting on the new model to come out sometime next year. The only regret is that I can't play Smash Brothers right now, but when the Wii U version comes out, I can play that.
Pokemon was the only game I had for 3DS for a while, but loved Smash Brothers since the N64 one, so I got it as well. Who would you say your favorite new fighter is, Matt?
New fighters? I kind of want to say Lucina, but she just plays like Marth, so that doesn't really count. Probably Little Mac.
Yeah, same here. I really like the sort of star punch thing that he gets after you've built up enough.
Yeah, although I've noticed when versing him, the knockout bell always hits as I'm knocking him out, so I kind of like that as well.
Nice. I haven't used the stage very much though, mostly because I almost always use Final Smash.
Yeah, although of the new stages, his is probably my favourite. My least favourite of the new stages is probably the train one, though. Really don't like that one.
I forget what it's called, but there's one that starts out as a relatively flat surface, and then something happens in the background, and it changes to all these sort of slanted platforms, and that just seems to make it really awkward for me. Maybe it's because Little Mac doesn't have much of an angle on any of his attacks, so it's very easy to go over people's heads if you're above them, but I like my platforms to be flat and even.
Yeah, I mean, there are a few levels that do that. There's that one I think is a Fire Emblem one, but there's also a Pokemon one that has a similar effect. Unova Gym or Street or something. And the Mega Man one kind of has that as well, with different platforms and stuff happening on it.
I haven't gotten to play it as much as I would like to this past week, but yeah, I haven't unlocked Ganondorf yet. I haven't really unlocked terribly many people. I think Lucinia, Mario, or Wario, Ness, and maybe 1 other guy. Oh, Falco are all I've gotten so far.
I've unlocked pretty much I've unlocked everyone. But now I'm just doing things like playing through All-Star as everyone. I will say this, actually, and it's as a downside to it. Smash Run, at least single player, is a bunch of bullshit.
Why do you say that?
Well, the main reason, as I said, at least single player, I don't know 4 people with, 3 people rather, separate to me with 3DSs in my local vicinity. So it could be different for the multiplayer. But in single player, the objective is to run around open stages that are close to the adventure mode from Melee, only completely non-linear, so you can go in all sorts of directions and end up in all sorts of different environments. Gathering power-ups that are either just there in the air, or you punch out of random enemies. The problem is that you do this for 5 minutes, build up all your powers, and then have some sort of contest at the end where all 4 players battle each other. I cannot beat the computer in anything, because I'm almost always ending up with like half of what the stats are of the computers. They almost always seem to get everything, and I can't seem to get close to that. However, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to lose the contest, because the contests are bullshit as well. Because rather than just being a single, like, beat each other up, it's do an ice climbers level, or run to the end of the level, or something to that effect, which just annoys the hell out of me. I'd rather just fight everyone and win.
I'm literally trying...
Yeah.
I'm literally trying the game right now.
Tim. So not professional.
Totally professional.
I've only made one... I've only made one Mii fighter so far, and that's just my Wii, or my 3DS avatar, but I went with the swordsman guy, and it's... I made a really high speed build with him, and it seems to work out pretty well so far.
Yeah, I actually really like the Mii fighters. I made myself, just called myself Lionheart for silly reasons, but myself is a brawler. I can't remember the stats. Made a couple of City of Heroes characters that I used to have, and I've also made Dolph Lundgren as a swordsman, Arnold Schwarzenegger as a gunsman, and Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to make Dolph Lundgren look like He-Man, but I couldn't. Just the hair options weren't right. And until I unlock boxing attire, I can't make him as Ivan Drago. If there is boxing attire to unlock.
Okay, I think I have my review
I'm sure there
of this
is.
game already.
Let's hear it.
I'm terrible at it. That's it.
That's more of a review of yourself.
It's a review. I don't know.
Part of the initial issue I had with the game, the 3DS controls are not the best for Smash Brothers when you've been playing the better part of 10 years with a game, over 10 years actually, with a GameCube pad.
Yeah, I had to adjust the controls to something that felt more natural, because I think it can work fairly well. It just can't work with the same layout that you would have on a GameCube controller.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten used to it now. The only thing I've had to change is I've removed up jumping with the analog pad thing, because I don't know why it happens in this one and not previous ones, but when I go to do, say, an upward attack on someone in the air, I'll just double jump immediately from the first jump, and it just screws me over.
Huh.
So yeah, I had to stop that. Works perfectly now though, but after playing it for a week I'm pretty much used to the control scheme. I'm hoping it hasn't screwed me up for the GameCube, but considering that has a much more long-lasting habitual influence over me, I'm sure it'll just go straight back to it.
God bless Nintendo.
Yeah, I had a
GameCube controller adapter for the Wii U.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
When they announced that, I flipped my lid. I was so happy.
And the new GameCube style pads.
Yeah, I need to get me a Luigi one.
Because one thing that the GameCube pads didn't really have in their favour, at least for the likes of me, my brother, and a few of my friends who played Smash Brothers and Soul Calibur 2 all the time, they didn't survive very long. I think I gave them 2 years tops.
I've had my Wavebirds since like 2004, and to this day they still work perfectly.
I never got a Wavebird.
I don't know if that's just a thing with Nintendo controllers in general, because I know that my N64 ones would break just all the time.
N64 ones were pretty bad, mainly the analog stick. I remember stepping on one by accident and it was just done.
Yeah, mine would always get to where they're just kind of lazily listing to the right every time, and it's a pain in the ass to be constantly making up for that while you're playing something.
Yeah, the Xbox pads I've found do that. Eventually, anyway. There's suddenly, why am I looking to the right constantly? Clicking the analog stick in just seems to fix it for a short while, but I don't know.
We need that guy from the cleaning product commercial to come on here with some kind of miracle product that will get analog sticks working again.
Oh
guy-
god,
The guy that's dead or the ShamWow guy?
Did you watch the video I put on the Skype a little while ago, Tim?
No.
Okay, I think this needs some clarification. I'm trying to remember what it was called, though.
I don't remember what it was called, but basically, imagine, like, a guy who's clearly in his 30s just doing the most hilariously awful attempt at sounding hip and with it, with the video game market. And it just never ends. It just keeps going and becoming worse and worse, but you can't look away.
Okay, hang on. Let me see if I can. I just saw like the first 2 seconds of it, and I was already horrified.
Gamer dudes.
Oh shit!
I showed it to a
forgot.
friend and she just refused to watch it after like a minute.
I can't watch it because I just realized that it's gonna.
I was repulsed immediately, but I couldn't look away.
Well, I can't watch it because the audio is
call
going
it
to
a
be on the
train
podcast, so people are going to hear on
Yeah.
the podcast that I just like started the video twice and was just like, no. Or shit.
It's just like, wow, that's...
I just realized that whenever I play a video or something, it's going to go on the podcast, so people are going to hear me starting to play it twice, and they're going to get like the first 5 seconds of this thing twice in the podcast. So, whoops, I forgot about that little detail.
But yeah, there's something about that kind of soullessness that clearly this guy didn't plan on doing this in his life, and yet this is what he's tasked with doing.
It looks like it was made by a marketing team of people going by what they think they remember hearing being words used in game commercials at some point, maybe in the 90s.
They cracked open a corporate buzzword dictionary and just kind of like said, "Hey, what's the kid vernacular for a lot of this stuff? What's cool? What's with it? What's hip?"
You can't do it dirty, you gotta do it clean.
Yeah, I'm trying to go on my phone here and watch the video that way, but I can't find it, so I'm not really gonna worry about it too much. I'm putting too much effort into trying to see this thing already.
just know that it gives you a pretty clear indication of the more innocent side of what people at large seem to think gamers think like.
Gamer dudes and dudettes, when it comes to keeping your gaming gear at peak performance...
Subtle transition into second topic.
Well, hang on. I'm actually...
Oh.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I'll watch this and I'll throw in a random comment about it once we...
Oh, the games people play.
Yes, well, time for awkwardness of our own. The word gamer is something I've been wanting to talk about. Not specifically because of recent kerfuffles on Twitter, but just in general because I find it to be kind of a weird conversation that goes on every time it's brought up.
It's something that these days seems to make everyone on either side go from being reasonable, rational people to fucking psychotic.
Well, it's either that
Yeah.
or they just don't want to talk about it. They don't want to. They don't want to get into it. They don't want to have to. I think it's like either way is awful. It's like you have to talk about it. You have to put it out there, and yeah.
So for clarification, my opinion on the term gamer is that I think it's a useful term, and I think it's a term I approve of in defining myself, purely because it's an activity that I partake in enthusiastically, and it's a pretty easy shorthand for someone to call someone a gamer rather than a player of games, or a games enthusiast, or games hobbyist, or similar.
I think the biggest
My issue with the term gamer is that it tries to encompass, in my opinion, too wide of a set of genres. Like, I mean, gamer, if you identify yourself as that, is fine, but trying to give, like, shared characteristics, or trying to define shared characteristics among all people who define themselves that way is, you're going to run into problems. Like my 9-year-old cousin who plays Minecraft and some 17-year-old jackass on Call of Duty, they don't share terribly many traits. It seems to me a lot like, attributing common factors with country music enthusiasts and metalheads for the simple reason that, well, they both enjoy music.
True, but they would also... But at the same time, if you're a musician, whereas you're actually partaking in the actual act of it, that doesn't necessarily state what kind of music you're going to play, or what kind of instruments, or what kind of message your music will be sending.
True, but that's my problem with the way I see the word gamer used a lot, is that it does say that, oh, you're a gamer, these are the attributes that you must have.
I think that's kind of why I like it, though, because there's in my opinion, when it comes to being a gamer, there is that kind of, in truth, and this is something that people often miss, in my opinion, there is no requirement to be a gamer other than just enjoying games enthusiastically, as a deliberate hobby rather than just something in addition to say, oh yeah, I went to the cinemas, or whatever. Not everyone that watches movies cares about movies as much as, say, us, the reviewers who do it. Like, I care a lot about movies, even though it's not my main hobby. I wouldn't even say gaming is my main hobby, or rather, it wasn't anyway. Art and creativity was, and I love going to museums and seeing that sort of stuff. But it's But other than artist, which I think is another loaded term these days. Again, that one kind of lacks a sort of. No one's going after, no one's going after illustrators and trying to put political opinions upon them in the same way they're doing with gamers. Even though they probably could get away with making more political statements that way.
It's the slapping, labels like misogynist or political stances on gamers as a whole. It's like you're dealing with a wide variety of people who don't necessarily share ideals outside of the fact that they play games. Using gamer as a term for one who plays games is fine, but trying to pack things in of their opinions outside of the scheme of video games seems overly simplistic to me.
It's unfortunate that gamer kind of took the connotation of whichever game sells the most, whatever the highest demographic of those games are, those represent gamers. Like you have Call of Duty with like these young kids that are yelling horrible things at other people on multiplayer online and getting banned and then making another account and going back on. Or, like Madden players and stuff like that. Like, gamers have this public perception that is what gamers are. Call of Duty players that are horribly rude, or Madden players that are overly aggressive, and it's just... There are a lot of games, and there are a lot of gamers, and it's just... Whenever you try to put a label or specific traits on things, then you miss out on the big picture, so...
The thing is, could you imagine people doing this with something like I'm not necessarily sure what the best term is for people that love movies enthusiastically. I like film buff is probably my favourite one. But imagine if people said that about them, like, oh, film buffs, they only care about things like Transformers or the Avengers, even though that tends to not be the case whatsoever, and they tend to be considered more of the what's the word? They tend to go for the more artistic movies, the ones that are more likely to win an Oscar, if anything. As a more generalization.
You have ones that go for, or you have ones that go for like the cult movies, or the ones that go for the so bad they're good movies, and there's just a load of them. And one of the things I think is important to keep in mind if you're trying to have a discussion with like a reasonable adult about the term gamer is that a lot of the things that are applied to the term with negative connotation, they're not being perpetrated by actual adults. The people who are probably the worst about this offensive stuff are teenagers and preteens who think that what they're doing is being mature and adult.
Exactly.
Or there are the occasional people who do have genuine problems, mental problems, who can be perpetrating this sort of stuff as well. And I think the problem is people see that kind of stuff and they interpret that as being they're the reasonable people, so I can't deal with them. Whereas the actual reasonable people are just being ignored or drowned out by the aggressive conversation.
Well, I'd say it would be more drowned out because mostly your more docile and calm players are exactly that, so they don't bring that much attention to themselves.
That's true as well.
There doesn't seem to be, in a lot of ways, a whole lot of point in having discussions, especially online. Like I know Crack.com recently put out a couple articles about gamers and the problem with gamers, and the comment sections of that were, you can't have a discussion there. People are just immediately firing up, immediately turning towards, name calling and putting each other down, and nothing's ever going to get accomplished.
The problem with that sort of title, though, is that it's almost like if you were to put the term up, the problem with, I don't know, let's say the problem with teachers, it's an occupation, or the problem with plumbers. It's like if you've got an audience of plumbers and you're going to say the problem with plumbers, they're going to go, are you talking about me specifically, or are you going to be generalizing and therefore not speaking about anyone specifically? And that's always the problem with generalizations. It's when you point the finger at your audience but not say who amongst your audience you're pointing to, you fall into a trap of basically pointing at everyone and then wondering why everyone's up in arms at you.
I kind of want to... There was a time where I was distancing myself from the term gamer, and I still kind of am. And it's not because of a generalization, but it's also because of just the extreme entitlement that some gamers seem to have. And it gets kind of disgusting to a point where, yes, you can expect a game to be good, you can want a game to be good, but you're not entitled for that game to be good. Because whenever you're like, oh, well, this game was bad, which means this developer owes me, it's like, well, get a refund. That's about as far as you can get. And because, death threats and things like that they use to try and continue. It's like, pay with your money, vote with your money as to what games you want to do well. I mean, I know it's kind of hard to, like, return Steam games and, like, digital distribution games, but I'm sure if you make a few phone calls and say the right things and not be an asshole, it's possible.
I'd also say there's also a thing, like, I'm actually quite in favour of bad games happening in a weird way, and the same with bad movies and so on. Not because necessarily that I want games to be bad, of course I want games to be good, but when they happen, they can be a lesson, or they can be that they're bad for reasons that might not necessarily be in quality, but in terms of what the game actually is. So there'll be a lot of people that hate old school NES games because of how difficult they are, but there's actually a fairly strong market for that sort of difficulty in games, and games like Dark Souls are proving it. So it's kind of, there'll be people that call Dark Souls bad purely because it's hard, and then there'll be people that call Dark Souls great because it's hard. So what defines a bad game is difficult, and the people reacting in a way that's just sort of just ridiculous, basically, because they don't like a game or because it's difficult, they're arguably the worst people that are playing games at times. But yeah, I get what you're saying about the entitlement. You do get a lot of that sometimes.
There's actually a great example involving Dark Souls. I have heard people call Dark Souls 2 official fan fiction. As in, it is a sequel to Dark Souls, but they don't see it that way because it just doesn't seem good enough, I guess. Because
it's the Dragon Ball GT of Dark Souls.
I suppose. Like, I heard that and I was just like, official fan fiction makes no sense. Like, that's just somebody being a dickhead and saying something that they think is cute.
Yeah, I mean, it comes from a term like, I forget what the trope is, but something like the author is king or something, where if the original people behind it don't have anything to do with it, it doesn't count. And I can kind of understand that, because, you know, I'd rather forget that S. Darko ever happened, but it's still the case that was it really that bad? Was it really that deviate? Did it deviate from the formula or the setting so much that it harmed the overall series? Like, I remember people complaining about Mass Effect 3 destroying the trilogy, and it's like, the first one's still there. You can go back and pretend the third one didn't happen, or you can just make up your own ending. If you want to do fan fiction, go ahead. But at the same time, why would you let one bad experience ruin so many good experiences?
And the whole issue with that is, like, all the bitching and moaning they want to do about how terrible it is, but how little they're going to do about it, because they're still going to have that game. They're not going to return that game to the retailer, and I don't know if, like, returning games is usually a bit of a task anyway. But it's just the idea that, you know, they don't care. The people who made the game don't care. It's like, it was to critical acclaim by reviewers, because that's what always seems to happen. Game comes out, people buy it, and that's it. People bought it. So guess what? That game is now known as good because of how many units it sold. Not so much the end user experience, but how many it sold in its first week. And that's it. That's the only metric.
I think...
No, I'm not...
Sorry, go on.
I'm not sure, especially if you're returning a game to some place like GameStop, how much that really even affects the developer, because I know there's been a lot of talk about how GameStop cuts the developers out of the initial sale, that if you buy something from a place like that and return it, I'm not entirely sure it even hurts the developer at all.
In my opinion, though, it's not even that... Like, there are some developers that will listen, and I think it's more of a publisher end thing when the publishers don't listen. Because they're the only ones that are truly interested in the money coming back. It's the developer that's more interested in the creative side. But people like CD Projekt, is that what they're called? The guys behind The Witcher, they listen to fans quite a bit, and they want to work towards fans' expectations. They want to make great games that sell well, but they also want to make games that, you know, do make people happy at the end of the day. So in The Witcher 2, melee combat, if I remember correctly, unarmed combat rather, was dealt with by quick time events, whereas in the previous game it was just regular action. And they're removing that in the next one because people reacted poorly to that. And similar things such as it being open world and bringing back a lot of the mature themes that the previous games have, or improving on them as they did with the second one, which I think that's important. And I think when the criticism is actually clear and understood, they'll listen. But when it's people just going, this is worse than the first one because I don't like it as much, that's not a criticism, that's not even really an opinion yet. That's just a statement about your dissatisfaction without an opinion attached.
Okay,
okay.
Well, I wasn't sure.
Sorry, I didn't mean to kill the conversation.
No, that's fine.
You just said something so deep we all had to ponder it.
Yeah, it was just a moment of... We were just musing for a moment on existence, because what you had said had touched us in such a profound way.
I can actually cite...
I feel like I just watched the end to 2001 Space Odyssey, to be honest.
Okay.
I think I blacked out a little bit.
Just the whole
I've run out of things to say on that now, but there is one example I want to bring up from just the fighting game kind of world, because I think it's important, and it's not Brawl versus Melee, funnily enough. Street Fighter 3 back in the day, back in 1998, came out to fan backlash more than anything, because the only returning characters were Ryu and Ken. Everyone else was completely new. They eventually brought in Chun-Li and some other references here and there, but back in the late 90s and early 2000s, it was considered worse than Street Fighter Alpha 3, worse than Street Fighter EX, and Tekken and Dead or Alive and Virtua Fighter are all the important fighters now. And yet, 10 years later, not even that, like 5 years later, 6 years later, whenever the Daigo moment happened, people realised actually Street Fighter 3 Third Strike is probably the best fighting game ever made, because it has so much great things about its gameplay, things like the parry system, fantastic animation, really technical combat for 2D fighters. And lo and behold, it's now a cult classic in the series. I think there really is too much of a fan backlash with a lot of stuff that colours things too poorly. So when Street Fighter 4 eventually happened 10 years later, it wasn't nearly as good as Third Strike, despite being a great game.
Well, that's really the whole thing about it, is that fans will nitpick over small details, and that will essentially give developers the wrong idea, because some of them are very fanatical and very extreme in their opinions and what they expect from games and what they want out of them. Change is often bad, even though change is innovation a lot of the time, you know?
I think sometimes
fans get nitpicky about all kinds of things, though. Like, it's not just video games. Like, look at the YouTube channel Cinema Sins, or How It Should Have Ended, or and there's people that rip apart music. There's people that rip apart books. Like, it's just something that fans do. I mean, if you're fanatical about something, especially if it's like a fictional world, you want there to be a continuity. You want it to be a sensible, believable world.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, again with fighting games, and again with Mortal Kombat with me, shock and horror, I'm a huge Mortal Kombat fan, I'm a huge Sub-Zero fan, and yet I really like that they turned him into a cyborg in the new one. Not because I thought that was a good direction for them to go, but because they did a good job at doing it. Like, they not only turned him into a cyborg, they had him be pretty much one of the most powerful characters at the same time, having him take on two sub-boss characters, Goro and Kintaro, at the same time, and winning, while at the same time acting like a superhero. And it's like, they did that really well. They did the whole thing really well. It's a reboot with changes that don't necessarily work all the way, but they made it work by doing a good job with it. And fans loved it. Weirdly.
I can remember one game that was based around Sub-Zero that I don't think did very well. Was it I think it was just called
Mythologies.
Yeah, that was one I had.
Yeah, I've got that one. I've talked about it on the podcast previously. it's actually a bad game that I actually kind of like, at least for the first level. But yeah, it's not a good game at all.
I don't think I ever got past the first level.
I don't
I
blame
think
you.
we all know the best thing to come out of the Mortal Kombat franchise regarding Sub-Zero is his theme song, Chinese Ninja Warrior.
I would disagree just because of my own fandom here.
I would
But I
disagree
can
because I'm
appreciate the
being
sentiment.
sarcastic. Ninjas are not Chinese. What are I?
That's actually a funny thing about Sub-Zero. He's not a ninja. Specifically
But he
stated
dresses
in
like one.
mythologies. Like one of the first cutscenes has Quan Chi call him a ninja, so he just responds, "I am not a ninja. Scorpion was a ninja. I'm Lin Kuei," whatever that means, and that technically does mean the same thing as a ninja. It's just the Chinese equivalent that did actually exist, but and meaning forest demons. Only they just didn't have like ice powers.
That you know of.
Oh!
That I know of, indeed.
You okay over there, Tim?
Yeah, I'm alright.
I think he just killed the sound.
No, I keep thinking, my finger keeps twitching on the control key here. There, I cracked my knuckles. I should
yeah,
be okay
going-
now.
But even then, I'm kind of curious to see what the fan reaction will be to the new Smash Brothers, just because of the reaction that happened to Brawl. I'd like to see if this one ends up being more favourable.
I mean, I think there are always people who are going to say Melee is the best. I think they're wrong, but if you've seen it's an old JonTron video. He's actually taken it off his channel, but he's talking about most overrated games, and one of them is whatever Smash Brother is previous to the current one. Where he said, no, the N64 one is not better than Melee. No, Melee is not better than Brawl. And when the next one comes out, Brawl will not be better than it. And generally, I agree with that.
JonTron's got to
that
stop taking
he's-
videos off his channel.
I can kind of understand taking down that one, though. He got a lot of heat for it, from what I recall. Because I think he put Sonic the Hedgehog as one of them, and there's a lot of Sonic fans.
He put Sonic and Left 4 Dead on it.
Yeah, and I think there is a problem with the term overrated as well. Like, it's a term that kind of says my opinion is the right one. Everyone else's opinion isn't as important. It's kind of loaded in that way. I'd say the same about underrated as well. It's like, you could say this is like somewhat unknown, people don't know about it, maybe you'll like it or something. And I know it's kind of pussyfooting around the whole thing, but it's like, I don't want to say that such and such is overrated, despite the fact that all I'm saying is I don't like it when everyone else does.
Well, the thing is, again, it's not really valuing your opinion over others. You're just stating your opinion about other people's opinions. It doesn't really add any weight. It's just a term that's easy to use.
I know, but the sentiment that it does in kind of put in people's mind does lead to that fan backlash again, where it's like, how can you say that Sonic's shit? That's not an opinion. That's not a fact. That's just your opinion. That sort of thing. And while I'm perfectly happy for people to not like Sonic the Hedgehog, and that's absolutely fine, there are a lot of people who will react badly to that kind of statement, and I can understand why you would want to take that video away. Especially as YouTube can be quite a hive of just negative comments.
Indeed.
The internet's a dangerous place for opinions.
Indeed.
Because yours is always the wrong one.
Exactly.
Except when it's mine.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion. You just need to understand that yours is wrong.
Wise words.
Because you didn't make a snazzy video about it.
I did like it once. It was just That's just your opinion. Yes, it's just my opinion, but my opinion's better.
Okay, so have we tapped out that topic?
We kind of covered quite a few there, I think.
Indeed.
So I guess...
I think Indeed is going to be our title.
Well, it has to be now. Fucking, I'm not going to come up with the title. If you say it, then that's what it is.
But yeah, as mentioned, well, not as mentioned on the podcast, but previous to it, if we're going to move on to other topics, I saw a terrible Jackie Chan movie yesterday.
Okay.
I don't believe you.
You don't believe me, or you do believe me?
I don't believe you. Jackie Chan isn't capable of making bad movies.
Amen.
He didn't make this one. It's called Rumble in Hong Kong, which immediately inspires the Rumble in the Bronx movie, which is awesome. It has Jackie Chan as top billing, no other actors mentioned. This Chan classic is a must for all collectors. A rare switch for roles in Jackie Chan, for in this early outing he plays the villain. As chief protector for one of the crime masterminds of Hong Kong, Jackie is soon on a collision course with a policewoman intent on destroying the syndicate and cleaning up the streets at the same time. And in it, Jackie Chan plays a low-ranking henchman who does get a final fight with one guy, but not the main hero technically, and he isn't the hero at all.
So
he's just a guy.
He's a minion. He's not the hero. He's not the antagonist. He doesn't even fight the hero, but he's got top billing.
He doesn't fight the main female hero listed there, who is technically the hero or the awesome character that the movie makes you want to think is the hero, even though it focuses on a different guy. The main character really is this taxi driver who's getting harassed by Jackie Chan and his friends.
I see.
It's really bad.
Now, is Jackie Chan actually bad in it? Or is it that Jackie Chan wasn't given terribly much to work with?
He's not bad in it as such. Like, he has some decent moments where he gets to show off his stunts and his fighting ability, but nothing in the way that you'd normally go out of your way to see. Like, it could just be any general stuntman in the role. It's just more of a compounding of different things where it's clearly not the master copy, so it's like a really old film. There are points where the actual film starts to scrunch up on screen. It's got the black boxes on the sides of the screen really bad, so people who are talking at that time will be completely cut out of the picture while we're just looking at someone else just sort of reacting to what they're saying in a very kind of nondescript way. The dubbing is terrible. There's a weird moment partway through where the taxi driver with his taxi driver friends are just talking about how films and television are all full of violence and sex and they're corrupting our youth and we have to ban them. It's just this weird moment. It's like, this is a movie about martial arts. What the hell?
So what you're telling me is it's a terrible movie with a decent actor who's not even a fucking, like, he's not even one of the principal actors, but he's billed as such, and there's some sort of overarching message where media is far too violent. This sounds to me to be like a ham-fisted...
It's not overarching.
What?
It's not overarching, it's just this one scene.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's never relevant throughout the rest of the movie.
Okay. Maybe they thought that would, like, counterbalance the, whatever... Like, is it super violent, or is it just, like, the usual Jackie Chan fare, where it's, like, campy kung fu violence?
It's not even, like, campy kung fu violence. It's sort of like a realistic scuffle, but with a bit more finesse. It's like, they're clearly, like, fighting each other, but they're not doing, like, fancy stuff. I think it's before really Jackie Chan took off. He looks very young in the film. It's not the picture of him on the box is not a picture of him from the movie, partly because he doesn't have a giant mole on his face that's bigger than his nose.
Yeah, that kind of strikes me as a reprint. Like, they just reprinted the box once Jackie Chan became famous so they can try and sell the movie to more people because it has Jackie Chan in it. And they're just like, oh, that's got Jackie Chan, that should be good.
That's absolutely what they did. It's not even the only time they've done it. There's a series, the Twinkle Twinkle Lucky Stars titles, which consist of 3 movies, one of which I haven't seen. Jackie Chan gets top billing on almost all of them, and at least the 2 I've seen, he's a side character at best. In fact, in one of them, he's barely in the movie at all, and it's more about Sammo Hung and his friends. Which is weird, because Sammo's still a really good... Sammo's arguably better than Jackie Chan at what Jackie Chan does. So why they didn't showcase him more? And they could have gone through another whole range of movies that he's been in. I don't know.
It was before Jackie Chan had harnessed his supreme likability.
He didn't even bring that in this movie, quite frankly. There's no moment for him to be likable. I mean, he is trying to get the purse of a dead woman throughout the movie, so it's a bit difficult to make that likable.
How does that make the cast feel? If you're the antagonist or protagonist, and this dude's cameo gets higher billing than you. It's how does that make you feel as a lead actor?
Well, that's probably not how it was whenever the movie was first made. That's probably a thing that happened later.
It wouldn't surprise me if none of the people involved in the original production of this movie even know that it's been released like this at this point. I'm pretty sure I got it for £2. I'm not unhappy I saw it.
You know you're in trouble whenever your entire principal cast has the same name, and that name is Alan Smithy. Everybody's on the same page with that joke, right?
I certainly am.
I'm on board, Captain.
I do love that joke.
There's still just a weird thing about it. The actual film itself, there are points where the scenes just seem to jump from place to place. I'm not even sure if it was edited, if it's the movie edit or if it's a TV edit or something. There's just something really, really bad about how it's put together. It could have been loads of stuff changed in translation, which often happens.
That, or maybe it was all shot on Shitty-O.
That also wouldn't surprise me.
Fucking VHS camcorders everywhere.
It certainly sounds like it was shot on video, but at the same time, it's dubbed, which makes it worse, because they probably would have had access to better quality stuff. I recognise the main character's dub voice as well, but I can't remember what from. Maybe Big Boss or something.
That tells you you've watched way too many movies if you could recognize a dub actor.
Well, if I'm not an anime fan anyway. If we are specifically talking about old Hong Kong action movies or Japanese monster movies, then yeah, probably, but at the same time, I don't care.
Wait, I don't care.
But it's like when we talk about various different kinds of gamer, when it comes to movies, martial art movies are my favourite. That and animated.
There's gonna be a lot of yawning in this recording. I can't stop. I'm sorry. I'm really tired.
Can't stop, won't stop.
I'd like to stop because it's annoying.
So here's a question for people that are Batman fans.
Oh no.
Would people have a problem with me declaring that the best Batman movie is Mask of the Phantasm?
Mask of the Phantasm, you know what? I would agree with you on that. If only for the scene where he first puts on the cowl.
That is an awesome scene. Though it also has some of the best Joker moments.
Yeah, this is true.
Plus it
Because
shows
he
why
puts it on,
Batman...
he turns...
Sorry.
What was that, Zilla?
I was just saying it's been too long since I watched Mask of Phantasm.
I don't think I have watched that.
If you look way back in my video... If you look way back in my video archives way before Geeks of the Roundtable, I did a video top 5 greatest animated Batman moments, and the first putting on the costume scene for Mask of the Phantasm was number 2.
It's like if you take the fact that it's a story specifically about Batman and a love interest involving his beginnings, not in the same way as Batman Begins, but in a similar way. You've got the art style from the animated series, the voice actors from the animated series, the Joker's in it. You've got a really cool female character in it as well. In the fact, going to avoid story things for the moment. If you have not seen it, I recommend watching it, especially if you're a Batman fan. It's better than all of the Nolan movies.
Does Mark Hamill voice the Joker in that?
Yes.
Oh my god, he is so good in everything he's in. I mean, Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's honestly the best thing to do with Batman, in my opinion. I've often thought that the animated series from the 90s is kind of the perfect version of Batman and his universe. And I think even the comics recognise that. But the movies never did. And the Nolan verse, I feel, it's a great version, but it's not a perfect version.
Yeah, like we're talking about, like with Mark Hamill involved. Mark Hamill even made the old Flash television series bearable for 2 episodes.
He played the Trickster, didn't he?
Yes, and
Not the Trickster.
Those were the best episodes.
No, it was
in
the Trickster.
Series. Yeah, the Trickster.
Because he reprised the role for Justice League Unlimited. He voiced the Trickster in that as well.
Oh my god.
In fact, I think they even modelled him on him.
What, from his TV series portrayal?
More his facial structure, I'm thinking.
That's a possibility.
But, because I was getting a bit mixed up with another Batman villain, the Creeper, who is also brilliant.
The Creeper, the only villain that the Joker is scared of. Well, I guess he's not usually a villain, but the only thing in the DC universe that strikes fear into the Joker.
I'm not even aware who the Creeper is. That's one Batman villain I've never heard of.
He's
not so much a villain. Go ahead, Matt.
In the cartoon, he kind of was created by the Joker, I think. But he was a reporter reporting on the Joker and his creation, which is kind of the irony about it. And he turned into the Creeper, which is a basically yellow-skinned, I think green-haired, I can't remember, but he dresses funny. And he's kind of like Freakazoid if he was a Batman villain.
For more information, watch the Unsung Heroes episode on the Creeper on Geekosaurus Mike YouTube channel.
Oh god, you did an Unsung Heroes video that I didn't see? Or maybe I did see it and didn't remember the subject.
Evidently.
Shit, I love that fucking series.
I'm considering, I'm probably, if I can find a villain, I will probably be doing a villain episode for Halloween. But I really want to try to find an obscure space-themed villain, because I have a Carl Sagan impression that I also really want to do.
I'm kind of sad that you're, like, in the DC universe. Otherwise, I would suggest you use Slivers from Magic the Gathering.
Well, I think it's more that I'm in the comic universe in general.
Magic has a story, it's close enough.
Which kind of surprises me.
Why's that?
It's just a weird thing, like, including fighting games in this, but also, say, Warhammer. The fact that so much story is built up around these things that ultimately isn't to do with the core game. Like, no amount of storytelling will matter to how you play a game necessarily, but somehow fans latched onto the story and the story built from there. It's not to say that I'm discrediting the stories at all, just more, I find it amazing just how much story matters to a lot of people on the creative side, and why that... You know, it's an interesting thing to explore, I think, just why story's so important sometimes.
It enriches the experience. I mean, I don't even play Warhammer, but I know a few things about the story, and the story that they have is nuts.
Oh, I know. I'm just more thinking from like I love Super Mario, and I don't really care where they go with the story, because I know the story's always going to end the same. But there's a lot of people calling for more story from Nintendo when there's a lot of people that already provide it, if you know what I mean. So I wonder where this like desire to create huge universes basically comes from something that wasn't necessarily about creating a huge universe to begin with. Like, I'm not opposed to the idea at all.
I would take light issue with Nintendo going for more story-based things, simply because Nintendo's whole thing, and why I unconditionally love them, is that they've always recognized that the core point of games is to make a fun one.
I agree.
And that story and whatnot is kind of secondary.
I think it benefits Zelda, just because they have tried a bit more throughout the history of the series. But I think Ego Raptor's video has a good point on it. If the story doesn't serve to aid the experience, but is more an explanation for the experience, it doesn't work as well. So when the hero isn't just out to slay monsters because that's what makes him a hero, he's got to have this deep backstory as to why he's out to slay monsters. I sometimes think it gets in the way of why it's fun. Like, one thing that I've really had a problem with is the whole Chosen One aspect to Link, especially in Twilight Princess, because I don't care. I don't care if he's the Chosen One or not. I like it when he's just some little kid off some buttfuck nowhere island that just has got to save his sister.
There is something pretty satisfying story-wise about, this isn't all just preordained. Like, one of the things that I know a lot of people liked about Wind Waker was, like you were saying, he wasn't the chosen one. He was some kid who went out and made himself the hero.
Who even the gods were just like, damn, this kid's doing it, okay.
I think...
Well, we were kind of undecided at this point, but, okay, he wins.
I think that's what I like about the Fallout series, too. Like, Fallout 1, you're just like one of a bunch of different people that tried to leave a vault. One that barely made it outside the fucking door. Fallout 2 kind of faltered there, and you were literally called the Chosen One. Though I'm not sure if anybody else was sent away before you. I'll have to look into that.
It would be a good, like, backstory if it's just, oh shit, he didn't make it. You are the Chosen One! Until one of these sticks, you are the Chosen One.
There was actually Dark Souls 1 and 2. Like in Dark Souls 1, you escape the asylum, so by default, you are the Chosen One.
And I think the Bard's Tale took the piss out of that a lot, too. The newer one that came out for the Xbox and PC and stuff, where it's like, they tell you that you are, like, you as the Bard or the Chosen One, but you keep running into all these other Chosen Ones that get brutally murdered in front of you.
My favorite online comedy sketch group, Loading Ready Run, did a video called A Sacred Quest, in which there's this peasant down, working in the muck, and an angel comes down to him and says, "You must go on take this sword, and you are the chosen one. You will go on this quest. You will slay many dragons and fight evil throughout the land." And he goes, "No, that sounds horrible. Why would I do that?" So the angel just, like, keeps appearing to people who are working in this pit until one of them takes it. And by the end of it, she's going, "You get the magic sword. You get a moderately attractive princess, all for the low cost of slaying one little dragon and a moderately evil wizard."
Come one, come all, be a hero today!
It's one of those things that I've just always felt, like with Wind Waker in specific, as a specific example, like that Link was very endearing because you kind of knew it was tougher for him, because really the only help he got was being fired out of a cannon at first, which isn't really helping.
You keep talking about that, and you keep reminding me that I have the Wind Waker HD for the Wii that I haven't even played yet.
I still need to pick that up.
Luckily, it came with my system. I got that little special one. Yeah.
I got it with 3D World rather, just because I love 3D Mario games, and will always do so. Well, until they make a shit one.
I got mine with Super Mario U and Super Luigi U.
I got those too as well, and a Mario hat, and a Mario-themed Wiimote, all for £300, which, in hindsight, probably shouldn't have done because I was ill for a long time afterwards. I have no money now.
I feel that way about Magic the Gathering right now. I got into it like 2 weeks ago, and I think I'm out like $150 just from Magic stuff.
I'm out $150 on car maintenance, which is significantly less fun than the things you're saying.
That would imply that
I think
playing Magic and
£300
losing all the time is fun, and it's not really.
What color deck are you running?
I mostly run a mono black. I tried an Asban deck, which is black, green, and white, but that's not very good. I tried Mardu for a little bit, which is red, black, and white. That wasn't very good. So I'm trying to make a green-red, but my mono black will always be there to console me.
If I had the money to get the cards and make a deck right now, based on how much I've played, I'd go black-red. I was playing a black-red deck last night that was basically be an asshole to everyone else in the game, and then get some red cards to do more substantial damage.
I'm not gonna lie.
Go ahead, Matt.
I'm not gonna lie, you're not selling me on the game.
Yeah, well, I was considering doing black-red, because I already do what red is supposed to do with black instead. So basically I just like do it halfway with black, halfway with red, and use some red burn cards to kind of finish it up. Because right now I basically weenie rush. I just use mostly one power and one toughness for one converted mana that have death touch, and that's pretty much my only strategy right now.
See, I had this card called Havoc Festival, and when Havoc Festival is in play, at the start of everyone's turn, they lose half of their life.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
And then I had a guy out whose effect was, if anyone casts any kind of spell, they take damage equal to the mana cost of that spell.
God damn.
You can't even exist without dying.
Yeah,
of course,
every creature...
both of those also affected me.
Yeah, I mean,
both of those also affected me.
Oh, well then that's not that great. It's like every creature that comes out to spell until it resolves.
It's not that great, except that we were playing 4-man, so I'd play it, and it'd be a while before it was my turn again. So I would have done substantial damage to everyone else, but the point of the deck wasn't so much to be super efficient, it was to be an asshole.
You know what honestly pisses me off about Magic right now?
What's that?
I pulled a Sarkin the Dragon Speaker. Do you know what that is?
I'm not familiar with that specific card.
It is one of the Planeswalkers. It is the most valuable card in the con set, the expansion that just came out like a month ago. So I have this $50 fucking Planeswalker that I don't like. I don't like his abilities. I don't like what he does. But whenever it comes to trading, everybody wants him, but nobody has anything to trade for him. It's like, come on, I just need a few things, you know? And they're like, no, well, I want him, but it's a little steep. It's like, yeah, he's worth $50, and he's going to be worth nothing if I hold on to him for too long. So, come on, help me out here.
eBay?
I don't like dealing with eBay. Everybody says eBay, but it's like, I did eBay for a job for like 2 years, and I've seen the worst of eBay. All the worst things that can happen, like, and you have no control over it, and I'd rather not deal with that.
I sold like 5 things on eBay to help me get money for my PS4, and 3 out of 5 of those went through like other buyers who were clearly fake accounts or people who would just back out, and I would hate to do that for a job.
Yeah, I was listing like 10 to 20 items a day.
Were you working for a shop, or?
Yeah, I was working for a local used game store. I don't associate with them anymore though, for reasons.
Don't ask any direct questions to me for a minute. I'll be right back.
But Mike, we need all of your opinions.
All of your white hot, hypest opinions. I don't know.
So, topics. I think we've used them.
Oh no, are we puttering to an end already?
Probably not. We could talk about... help.
Well, I mean, we can go back to the well and talk about what we're doing right now, project-wise. I mean, Matt, you doing anything interesting with your videos and stuff? Anything coming out soon, or...?
No.
Okay then, moving right along. Zilla, Zilla, what do we have in store for us for Zilloween? Anything else you wanna? Because you just released a Five Nights at Freddy's video yesterday. Well, at the time of recording, which is Sunday. So yesterday was Saturday. But what do you got? Anything? Got any? Anything you want to say about what you're doing right now?
I can say a few things. I don't know whether this week will be the first of 2 Retro Nightmares I have planned. This week will either be a general thinking, or I might break down and, as a bonus, just do a review on the new Leprechaun movie, but I'm more leaning towards another general's thinking. But I'd like to get the new Retro Nightmares out this week, and then do another video next week, and then the next week I'll wrap up October with the last Retro Nightmares. Just all depends on how everything works out. But yeah, I got a full month planned, and got most of the scripts written. Just gotta do some touch-ups and record some last footage and all that stuff. And then editing, of course, which is the bane of my existence, but it's gotta be done.
I do still need to watch your Five Nights at Freddy's video. I shall get on that after this podcast.
I was entirely on edge watching that entire video because I was waiting for like the death scene to come out.
So you're saying you didn't watch to the very end?
I did watch it to the very end. Actually, no, I watched it to near the end. I saw it wrap up a little early, and I was just like, something's gonna happen. So whenever I loaded it into the editor to capture a screenshot, I just kind of cheated a little bit, and I was like, yep, that's what I thought.
Ah, you cheater.
Listen, that game is too much for me. I'm pretty sure it will give me a heart attack if I play it. It will kill me.
So you're perfectly alright with PT, but what is it about Freddy's that gets you? Like, if anything, I should be the one that doesn't want to play Freddy's because of the story I tell at the beginning of the video.
Yeah, that was
I played
actually,
it because I wanted to.
that was actually pretty interesting. But no, the reason why I want to play PT is because it's not like there is so much tension involved with Five Nights at Freddy's. Because if anything happens to you in Five Nights at Freddy's, it's your fault. Because you didn't manage your power, or you didn't keep an eye on this, or you didn't do your doors, like you didn't keep an eye on your hallways too well. But with PT, it's more about discovery, you know? Because, like, with Five Nights at Freddy's, they say there's only one jump scare, and that's if you fail. But that's a complete lie. And also, it's just way more tense.
That is true.
I would probably argue that from what I've seen of Five Nights at Freddy's, it's not the same. It's tense, but it's not the same kind of tension as PT. At least of what I've seen of that. I did have the chance to play it, but I didn't inquire about it, funnily enough. But I think the difference is, while Five Nights at Freddy's is more likely to give you a heart attack, PT is more likely to give you psychological problems for years to come. So you live with PT, you die with Freddy.
That should be the
It is
tagline
really
if they ever
only-
do a sequel.
Only one scare. But most of the time, until you figure out how the game works, you don't know when it's coming, and that's what's scary. Like, after a while, you're looking at all the cameras, and it's like, oh crap, I can't find Bonnie. As soon as I put this camera down, I'm getting scared. But until you know that for sure, yeah, you're going to get scared every time. Because I'll be like, I can't find the rabbit. Where is he? He's probably trying to get into the hallway. So I'll put the camera down, and there he is. And it scares the crap out of you.
So, Mike, you've joined us. You've joined us while we were on a tangent. There, is there any projects you're working on right now?
As far as videos and site stuff, there isn't terribly much. I do have 2 scripts that I'm hoping to film sometime this week. And like I said before, possibly a Unsung Heroes Halloween edition.
Okay. Anything else on that you might want to share?
Not terribly much I know about it at this point, so not terribly much I can share.
Okay. Well, I guess it's on me to continue with this. Not Another Reviewer is back under hiatus. I know I kept saying that there was a Halloween thing I was going to do, but then work and Magic the Gathering got in the way of that. But it is a hiatus. It is not over. It will come back. I just do not know when. I have plans for next year. I just don't know when it'll kickstart next year. Hopefully around May I'll be back, because there's a lot of stuff going on in my life right now, and I expect it to be going on for a very long time. So hopefully I'm back in... Oh my god, hopefully I'm back in 7 months, I just said. Jesus Christ. But yeah, I'm working on... Not Another Reviewer's not going on, but Sharpest Hammers in the Toolshed is going on. So...
And you got this podcast as well.
Yeah, I have this podcast, yeah, which I've not been very good with since we missed a week. So, we're going to try to make this weekly. We may miss weeks here and there because, like I said, my work schedule is crazy, and that's why I missed last week, because of work. But we will try to keep this going weekly, because that's just kind of the thing we want to do. But, so we have this podcast, which you can come see every week at 4 o'clock on Sundays, Eastern Standard Time, and also, I just brain farted everything. And we also have an email, geekscastlive@gmail.com, all one word, if you have questions or things you want to tell us, and we're open to everything. In fact, we're so desperate for extra content that we'll probably read every single email that we get.
Only because there'll be 2.
Especially the nasty ones.
Yeah, I mean, the more swears you add into your email, the better.
Well, that killed the conversation.
The conversation was already dying steadily.
But there's
Wasn't so much dying as already dead, and we kept trying to defibrillate it back to life.
Sorry, you've just made me think of Fist of the North Star.
Excellent.
To those who don't know, just watch Fist of the North Star.
And to those who do know, just watch Fist of the North Star again. It's always a good decision.
Or read the manga. That one's awesome. Actually, that's a thing I did do recently, if we have time.
What do you mean? To talk about something else? Yeah, we got time.
Well, I read through the entirety of the Fist of the North Star manga, as I had only previously watched the animated movie from the 80s and the live-action movie from the 90s. And don't watch the live-action movie from the 90s if you want to know why Fist of the North Star is awesome. Though do watch it if you like to see a terrible good movie, or a good terrible movie. That's the way around. Malcolm McDowell's in it. Watch it.
Well, I'm sold.
Yeah, same here.
He plays a Japanese martial arts master called Ryuken, though they call him Ryuken.
What is it with a lot of movie adaptations and making tiny mistakes, or not being able to pronounce the characters' names like they are in the source material? Like, that was the most grating thing about the last Airbender movie.
I think that happened with the Guyver movie too. Like, that movie was guilty of a lot of different sins, like mispronouncing character names, and then also they had Mark Hamill, like they used half of his face for the box art, along with the other half being the Guyver, and they top billed him. But he didn't even play the Guyver. He had like a bit part where he dies halfway through the fucking film.
One could call it the sorry, gotta remember the title. Rumble in Hong Kong of Mark Hamill movies. Yes, I had to look at the box to remember the title of a movie I saw yesterday.
Yeah, it just kind of ties together.
Although, I don't think I've seen parts of the first Guyver movie, but I've only seen the second one in its entirety, I think. I really like the second one, though, even though I did review it. Well, I tend to like the things I review. Well, no, I don't. I say that for the camera. Because I know that'll come back to bite me because I said I liked Gulliver's Travels, and I hate myself for saying that. It was back when we thought, part of the idea is we're playing characters in the role of critics. So my character was the positive one, so I have to like every movie. And the first time we properly did that was with Gulliver's Travels, a movie I hate.
The Jack Black one?
Yes, the Jack Black one.
That Jack
Really
Black
fun
one...
villain.
I didn't so much hate the Jack Black one as I was disappointed by it. Because if you've read, the original Gulliver's Travels, the thing is that Gulliver is an idiot. And, a lot of adaptations kind of show him as this brave adventurer in these crazy lands, and I'm like, no, he's supposed to be kind of this naive sort of dunce who just kind of over-adapts, I guess. I don't know, or I guess that's the first time. He's kind of an idiot, and I thought they could really capture that with Jack Black as Gulliver, but then they just completely go other direction. Well, because Jack Black, he plays talented people, to be sure, but the people he often plays in movies are also usually rather dumb.
Yeah, he does play pretty thick-witted individuals.
I kind of wonder if it's that he plays dumb characters, or if they're just slapstick characters that he plays, but they're ultimately not necessarily dumb. It's just that they have to fall for all the pratfalls of the movie.
I think it does have more to do with the general characteristic where the characters he plays are generally not so much dumb, just immature and childish. with that kind of like, because that's the one thing I liked about the Pick of Destiny was it just had that like that childlike wonder feel to Jack Black and Kyle Gass, you know.
I'd like more movies to have that childlike wonder when it comes to actually creating their worlds and so on. It's one of my big problems with Clash of the Titans, the remake versus the original. The original feels like you're discovering something with each scene. The new one, it's just, and now we're in the underworld. Here's a guy that you got to give a coin to. We go over there. Fight scene. Oh god, giant scorpions from nowhere. Had nothing to do with the way it was built up in the original.
Alright, so does anybody else have any other topics they think they want to bring up, or is that it?
There's one thing last time that I don't think we gave quite as much attention as it probably deserves, given the audience we're trying to reach and sort of what their concerns and thinking about is, and that's of course the Ouya.
The Ouya! Have you done any research on the Ouya? We don't have our resident Ouya expert with us.
Sadly, no. I was kind of counting on Josh to be here for that.
It does feel wrong to talk about the Ouya without Josh having to be the mouthpiece for it.
True, but I feel like the Ouya might become like the Nick Cage of this series of podcasts, in that it must be mentioned every time.
I feel like if we say the word Ouya enough, Josh will just show up.
I'm also hoping that we get a sponsorship deal. So,
So then we'd all have Ouyas.
I don't see a problem with that. Other than the lack of space in my room. But
Yeah,
it is tiny.
Yeah, they're super small, so you'd probably be able to find space. Like, you just have to take a Rubik's Cube and move it somewhere else.
Everything I have is bigger than a Rubik's Cube.
Well, then you're not part of the future. You'll have to stay behind and be left in the past. Okay, I think with that, the obligatory Ouya mention that we're not getting paid for yet, mind you. I guess that would be the end of today's podcast.
We could talk about how terrible the AVGN movie is, but yeah, there's really not more to say on that.
I want to see that first. Let's not talk about that until after I've actually seen it.
I haven't seen it either.
We should talk about it next week. Y'all should see it. And then immediately hate me for telling y'all to see it.
Oh no, I don't like the sound of this.
What, didn't someone else do a movie?
A lot of people do movies, Matt.
No, it's in didn't another internet personality do a movie of sorts?
Cinema Snob did.
Yeah.
Well, they
Cinema
do them
Snob.
annually.
Well, no, I mean, Cinema Snob did his own movie, independent of that guy with the glasses.
Oh, really? I didn't know about that.
What's sad is
he didn't play the Cinema Snob.
Constantly better, and then AVGN movie had a $4 million budget and turned out as bad as it did.
Oh wait, I did know about the Cinema Snobs movie. I don't remember what it's called though. Shit.
Is it about the Cinema Snob?
I don't remember.
Because I would watch that.
Fuck. Mike, help me out here.
Sorry, I missed the question.
The Cinema Snob movie. What was it? I don't remember.
I never actually saw it, I just know it was made.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. The Cinema Snob made a movie. I remember no details about it, but I mean, you know who he is. You'll be able to find it. It's somewhere.
Paranoia?
Yes. I believe that is the one.
So, with that, you think we should wrap up?
Yeah, there's an awful lot of uncomfortable silences, so I think we should...
It's time.
Yeah.
It is coming up to an hour and a half, so probably a good point.
The last one went to an hour 45, so there's no real limit to... But anyway, enough
I'd say the end point...
Oh, go ahead.
The end point is when we have nothing left to say.
Yeah, we really don't have anything left to say. So with that, this has been the Geekscast episode 2. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope you enjoy the continued works of me and my co-host Matt and our guests Mike and General Zilla. And thank you for watching, and goodbye.
All the other people you can see in the character select screen as well.
Yes, I made this. Isn't it cool? Send us an email and tell me it's cool. Or if it's not cool, I don't care. Goodbye!
It just wants your love. Bye.